Welcome to another episode of Do You Really Know God? This week we're going to cover lust in the Bible.
Yeah, and kind of like what lust is.
And lust is not just sexual. There's many levels of lust and many different things of lust. So I'm going to quote John 2:16. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. So basically, lust is a thing where it's not heavenly made, it's not made through the soul, it's not made through God. It is a thing of the earth.
Yeah.
There's multi-levels of lust. Obviously, there's lust of passion, lust of sex, and lust of sexual nature.
I was going to say, I would call it more lust of the physical.
Yeah. But there's also, like, lust of other stuff, like, basically, like, some form of, like, people, like, too much into food.
Yeah.
It's kind of a form of a lust of food.
Well, what's that? It's gluttony?
Gluttony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a form of lust, and lust can go in many different ways. Obviously, the most common is sexual.
Right. Or the most...
By nature.
Yeah, the most most thought about.
Most thought about. And when we talk about lust in the Bible, it's not all physical.
Yeah. You can lust after things. You know, like lust after money. Lust after,
money.
cars.
But even like lust of sexual nature may not have to be physical.
Yeah.
Lust of the eyes, what they mean is, like, if you look at, say, somebody of the opposite sex, and in your mind you have sexual fantasies, that is a form of lust.
Or even just, oh, that girl's got a big butt.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case is.
It is all a form of lust. Which we all know in the Bible, lust is a sin.
Yeah.
All forms of lust is a sin, whether it's lust of mental lust, of sexual nature, or if it's physical lust, or even if it's lust of money, because you're putting money, basically, you're imagining money so much, or you're putting money so high, you're putting it above God.
Yeah.
You also, maybe if it's a lust of food, again, you're putting it above God, and you're using it to create negativity in basically God's temple. Your body is your body, but it's a temple for God.
Yeah.
So what we need to remember in life is what our body is God's temple. Because when Jesus came down, he says you no longer have to go to the synagogue or to the well to pray. You pray in your heart. Meaning, he's saying is he's now making everybody's body a temple, and that's why we all have the Holy Spirit within us. So with doing that, you're supposed to cherish your body and not lust, like lust in food, which can make you obese or sick or ill, or other things could happen.
Right.
Because you're basically damaging your temple.
Well, lust is one of the big 7 deadly sins, too.
Yes.
Which we covered in another episode a little while back.
And when it comes to physical lust or sexual lust, I mean, one is God does not, he does not endorse, like, sexual lust of having many partners.
Well,
a lot of sex out of wedlock.
I mean, I've even heard of lust being emotional.
It could.
Like, if your significant other, feel doesn't respect you or whatever, and you crave it from other people, that's a form of lust.
Well, it's definitely a form of lust. And it's funny because, not biblically, but in nature, naturally, with human beings, it's just funny. All men and women, both sides, have cheating, whatever, qualities or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is known that most women don't cheat over sexual acts. They usually start off cheating because of mental connections.
Yeah.
Where men don't cheat over mental connections, they tend to cheat over physical
attributes.
Yeah, physical thoughts or whatever. But either way, no matter how it may go, it is still lust.
It's still adultery.
It's still adultery. It's still sin. It's not. When you're in a unionship of the soul with somebody, you shouldn't be acting in any ways of lustful acts with another human being.
Right.
That is a big deadly sin. Also, if you're single, you shouldn't be having all kinds of lustful thoughts in your mind with the Bible. When it comes to like money is a humanly or worldly thing.
Right.
So when you die, you can't take the money with you.
Yeah.
And money is of the world, not of the God. So when people tend to lust money, they get greedy, and they put money above all, and some people put money above God. And that's why Jesus has the phrase where he says it is easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to make it to heaven.
Right. And
the big thing about that is because you tend to lust money and you put money higher than God himself. And one thing we know about God, he's a very forgiving man. He's a forgiving God, but he likes to be number one.
Yeah.
You got to keep him number one.
Yeah.
And lust of anything, you're not letting God be number one.
Well, the definition of lust is putting one thing over your relationship and God.
Yes. And I'm going to do 1 Corinthians 6:18. Flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. So basically what that verse is saying is because our body is the temple, and when we're lusting against the body or lusting for something else, we're lusting against our temple.
Yeah.
So lusting against your body, you're basically taking your temple and you're dirtying it.
Yeah.
You're staining your temple.
Well, I mean, it's think about it this way: is let's say you have a white T-shirt. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you have the white T-shirt, so you shouldn't be eating, let's say, spaghetti, because you're messy.
That's not gonna be good.
You're a messy eater.
I don't care if you're messy or not. Spaghetti and white don't go together.
So you're sitting there and you're like, I really want spaghetti, but I have the white T-shirt on. And you decide to go for spaghetti anyway. You get sauce all over your shirt. That shirt is now ruined.
Yep.
And with a lot of hard work and scrubbing, you might be able to get it out.
Or some of it, but it'll never be perfect.
But it'll never be that same that it was before.
And there's so much with lust. Like, I bet over the years you talk about different things, and it's funny because everybody, when you talk about lust, everybody automatically goes to sexual in nature.
Yeah.
And it's not always sexual in nature. Lust has many different levels. And even when it is sexually, lust is not just technically physical. There's a lot of mental lust. Like, I've always heard the saying many times, and when I was younger, I used to use it all the time. You can look, but you can't touch.
Yeah.
But technically, you're wrong. To be a good Christian and a follower of God, you can't even look. Not in a lustful way. And we're all guilty for it, because I can honestly say, pretty girl walks by, I've had times when I'd be like, ooh.
Well,
it's human nature, but we need to learn to block that.
That's the thing is, looking at another... So humans in nature, our primal instincts is to mate. I can't remember exactly who said it, but someone said that the innate human nature is to have as many mates and offspring as possible. I can't remember who said that. I know they were a smart, like, scientist or philosopher, but I can't remember exactly who. And basically what they're saying is, you know, there's certain animals, like I think it's penguins mate for life.
Yeah.
And otters mate for life.
They have a partner for life.
Right.
Otters, actually, did you know that when they're floating in the water and they sleep floating.
Yeah.
They actually hold hands so they'll float away from each other.
Yeah, I've seen something about that.
That's pretty cool.
But, yeah, it's... Every animal is different, you know, in all their own ways. But humans fall into that group where we think, alright, if I have this many offsprings, or if I have this many sexual partners, or, you know, whatever the case may be, we're naturally like, that makes me better.
That, and not only that, this is a known fact too. Human beings are the only animal that mate for pleasure.
Yeah.
Where most animals mate to reproduce.
Yeah.
For some reason, the human being, we got this mate for pleasure.
Right. And so, you know, it's hardwired into our system to look at everybody as a potential, you know, mate. You know what I mean? And obviously, you know, with certain things, like some people look at people of the same sex, some people don't, you know, some people don't care. It's, our brains have become hardwired to look at a certain ratio of what we decide would be a good mate.
Yep.
So, like, you know, some people like people with more personality.
Yeah.
Some people like people with more body.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the case is, we are hardwired to say, okay, does this person meet our specific mating protocols? Yes or no? And if it's a yes, we tend to be more attracted to them.
Yep. We
tend to do the little, like, so you see someone walking down the street and you just go like, ooh. I know in driving they call it rubbernecking. I don't know what it's called when you're walking down the street.
Rubbernecking, I guess.
But, you know, it's naturally because we see something that in our head clicks as, I need to mate more.
Yeah.
You're a good suspect. Let's make it happen.
And here's the thing, too, is going back to the thing of you can look where you can't touch. Not even just biblically. Technically, you can cheat with just a wink.
Yeah.
You're basically cheating on your spouse.
Yeah.
Which adultery is a big sin in the Bible. So technically, you just committed adultery. As stupid as it sounds, I mean, I've seen cases over the years where it's funny because you think, like, for instance, you say, I don't know, say you wink and you just, like, have, like, a little office flirt, I guess we'd say.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, no, it's not, I just work with them, and, you know, it's nothing, it's harmless. I've seen cases where harmless turn into, with the right mixture of things, turn into the actual physical
in the
act.
perfect scenario, you know, all the right
Like the
mixtures.
office party and a few drinks are involved. Next thing you know, one thing leads to another. The reason why they say it's cheating is because eventually it leads up to something else. It's kind of like they say, like with a drug addict. Oh, they only do pot. They only do pot. But a lot of people, they start off with that. Then they work up to something else, and then something else, and then before you know it, then to the hardcore stuff.
I've never been a huge subscriber in pot is a gateway drug because people don't like the high, like they get unused to the high. I don't believe that at all. Look at Snoop Dogg. Look at Wiz Khalifa, Willie Nelson.
But you know what? I guarantee you, they've done other stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that at all.
I guarantee you, they've done a lot more than just pot.
Let's make that straight. I 100% agree. But
So
at the end of the day,
a gateway.
but if at the end of the day, if they were sick of the high of marijuana or didn't do the same thing, why would they still continue to do it? My thing, I believe pot is a gateway drug because it introduces you to the world of drugs and it introduces you to different people.
To the people.
Which then introduce you to peer pressure.
And everything like that, too. And that comes to with lust. It comes out to the same way with lust.
Yeah, and you're lusting for that other high.
Yeah, and something else comes up and more.
Or you're lusting for these people's approval.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there could be so many different combinations to it.
Yeah.
But we can talk about, I mean, lust is something that, as a human, it's kind of, it's almost like a natural thing because you don't even think of it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I can honestly admit, I have a tendency of what I'm told when I talk to people I flirt.
I'm the same way.
And I'm told I'm a flirt, and I don't mean to, and I don't mean nothing by being a flirt.
Yeah.
But I'm always told, you know, you're playing with these girls' feelings, and I'm like, I'm just being nice.
Right.
But I have had a case, and this was several years ago, where I always said, no, I'm just being nice. I'm only being nice. I actually had a case where a girl actually started, next thing I know, she started pairing wherever I was going, and it was like weird, and everywhere I went, she went, and I'd be nice to her and whatever, and told I was flirting. And next thing I knew, she's like trying to ask me on a date and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, where did this come from?
No.
And she goes, well, I thought you liked me. I'm like, you're a nice person. And it's like, she's like, but you're so nice and you talk to me like that. Yeah, okay, but that's just because you're my customer and I'm just trying to be nice.
Well, I mean, no, I completely, like, I've been told the same thing. That's actually, I think, if Michaela could change anything about me, that would be her number one thing. Because there's been, especially when we first started dating, there was multiple times where we'd go to a restaurant or we'd do this and that, and there would be a female cashier, and she'd be like, oh, she was flirting with you. I'd be like, no, she wasn't. And then we'd go a couple weeks later again, and it'd be the same cashier, and I'd just be talking, and then I'd pick up on it a little bit. And I'd be like, oh, and she's like, why are you flirting back with her? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just talking to her. I'm being nice. I'm being a good person. Or like that incident that we were talking about a couple weeks ago in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, situations, I don't want to put anyone out there, but, certain situations like that where I was just genuinely being a friend and being nice, and little did I know how much it spiraled.
And the thing is when you talk about different stuff, we gotta look at us as people and the way we are. Like, I'm guilty. Like, I call all females either hun or love.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean nothing about it. It's just, it's a lot easier for me to say hun or love than to remember everybody's name. And I've learned you gotta be careful of calling people ma'am. Because some people, you call them ma'am, you get your head bit off. Then they're saying, I'm not no old lady. What the heck you doing?
Well,
I'm
see,
like, whoa, okay, so.
Us younger folk don't have that big of a problem with it. Because for you saying someone man, because you're in your 40s, so you calling someone man, meaning they're at least 10 years older than you. Me, I'm 20, so anyone like 30 and up, I can call ma'am.
Yeah, but it's so I've learned not to call people ma'am anymore. So I always call everybody love or hun.
Right.
And I'm even told that I'm putting out false hope to people or something there, which I don't know. It's just
I definitely get I get where you're coming from on that. I think that was either passed to me just by growing up around you and noticing the way you do things, or maybe it was genetically somehow passed down. But I'm the same way. But the thing with lust and not meaning to or things like that, it's also stupid little things that can lead to it. Like, I remember Michaela got upset with me the other day because I went to so we have a joint bank account. I went to Dollar General to get a Monster or something like that. This was a couple weeks back. And so I got the Monster and all this. Well, she didn't know I went to go get the Monster, and me, not thinking about it, it was the bill came up to be like $2 and something. I was like, it don't matter that much. Well, she got upset because now she comes from a family of counselors and things of that nature. So she also has a lot more input on a lot of things. But I did research myself, and she's right. Hiding little things or not thinking little things are important are actually...
They lead to big.
They lead to bigger, smaller. So, like, it could start something like a Monster, and then it could go into something a little more expensive, and then it could lead into, this girl winked at me. She doesn't need to know it.
Yeah.
And it could lead into, what they say, the little white lies always end up with one big one.
Yeah.
You start with one thing, and then after a while, once you tell enough people, once you say it enough times, you believe it yourself.
Yep.
And then you don't even remember the little white lie that started it, because you think it's true, and you're all the way up here.
Yeah, and it's hard to come back.
Yeah.
But let's talk about lust and money some. Because lust and money is another big issue. You don't think of everybody thinks of lust, oh, you're talking sexual.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Lust and money kind of goes hand in hand with greed.
I agree. Think of Mr. Krabs.
Yeah. People tend to get so involved with money and things of money where they tend to forget of all the little things, that go on in life. They forget from where they came from, and they tend to center their world around the money. Like, I know people who have they're not rich, by no means, but they have such a lust of money that they buy very expensive stuff that's well outside their pay grade and their means of living.
So they'll never become rich.
But what they do is they're trying to give off the persona to people that they are rich. And they feel that if they put off this persona of being this big tycoon rich, like basically like say getting a Mercedes or the Hummer that you can't afford, rather than a regular Tahoe and Toyota that you could have afforded.
Yeah.
They're getting a higher class cars, whatever, to prove that they have money when they don't have money. And you basically spend your life around trying to pay for the expensive stuff that you got to prove to people that you're some type of rich person.
Right. Well, I mean, in lust of money, again, the last point I made, it can be something so little that leads to more.
Yeah.
Like, a lust of money could be. I was watching while I was in DC, and I had free time. I was sitting in my hotel room, and literally the only things I would watch was whatever was on True TV.
Yeah.
Because they had cable in the hotel, and so I'd watch True TV, and it had Impractical Jokers on it.
I love these guys.
They played that show on a loop for what I'm guessing is 90% of the day, because it didn't matter what point of the day I turned that TV on, it was on Impractical Jokers. And so I was watching it, and they did this one bit where so for those of you who don't know, Impractical Jokers is a show of 4 lifelong friends, and they put each other in these situations, like in the public, in real life, and make them do stupid, ridiculous things, challenges. And if you can't get the person to say what you want them to say or do what you want them to do, which this is a genuine, person, not in on the prank, then you lose. And if you are the person who lost the most challenges that episode, then
you go to the final.
Yeah,
final humiliation.
Yeah, they embarrass you, big time. Like one of them was they had to go streaking at a baseball game, and they just stupid stuff like that. So one of the ones was there's a $5 bill that one of their producers planted on the ground in the middle of a supermarket. So they just walk in, doing their thing, waiting for the bill to drop. And so the producer drops the bill, and they wait for someone to pick it up. They wait for another person to look on the ground and say, "Oh, $5," and they pick it up. And they have to go up to them and say, "Hey, I know that's not your $5, but it's not my $5, but can I have it?" And so these people thinking, "Oh, it's my lucky day. I just got $5 out of nowhere." They pick it up, put it in their pocket, which is one small way to get money lust. But they go up to them after, people pick it up, just put it in their pocket, and they go tap on them, hey, can I have that $5? And the people are like, is it your $5? No, I just want the $5. And so they have to somehow get these people to give them the money. And so one of these people that I saw on there, there's 2 different types of people that I noticed. There's one where they just don't care. They're like, "Yeah, take the $5, whatever. It's not mine anyway." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, one lady even said she found over $50 that week just on the ground places. So she actually handed it to him. I was like, "Yeah, here, take it. I found $50 free last week." And so, but there's the other people who sit there and they're like, "Why should I give it to you? Why do you think you need it more than I do?" And those are the people who have the money lust. Because money is an essential thing in our community, in our world.
Yep.
At the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone does, no one can discount the importance of money. If you don't have money, you're not making it anywhere. If you're not making it anywhere, you can't reach that many people.
Yep.
So money does play a factor. It's just to the degree where you find $5 and you want that $5 so bad, you're not willing to give it to someone else who may need it more than you do.
Who may actually need it.
Yeah.
And that goes somewhat with
that was just an example of money lust.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of goes with some of my. I did a live the other night on my ride home about how we as people, we need to get more care into other people's needs and need to bond together more.
Yeah.
And part of that is the pay it forward movement.
Yeah.
And pay it forward movement is probably the best movement ever to be thought of.
That was started by an 8-year-old boy.
That was started by 8-year-old boys. But it is a movement that you can tell who really care or whatever, somebody who really cares will give you the last dime out of the pocket.
Yeah.
They'll give you the shirt off the back. But there are people out there, and I see this a lot, and this kind of drives me nuts. Like this, you see a lot of celebrities who are making millions and millions and millions of dollars making movies.
Yeah.
And they go on these, like, telethons or whatever it is. Oh, donate to St. Jude Hospital or whatever, or donate to this or donate to that. It's only 56 cents a day, it's a cup of coffee a day, or whatever it is. And a lot of these people, these big movie stars, sports stars, they won't donate a dime. And they're making millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That is a lust of money. You are so greedy on your money that you're not willing to, like, say you make $25 million a year, but you will not donate $1 a day.
Well,
which is $356 a year, which is nothing when you make $25 million a year to a cause.
The pay it forward movement goes one beyond money, but two, I'm a strong believer in it. I knew somewhat about it before you showed me the movie Pay It Forward.
Yep.
But once I saw the movie, I really understood, how
the
it
whole
came
concept.
about and the whole concept. But I'm a big fan, and Michaela gets upset with me about this a lot, because I'm the type of person where if I have a couple extra dollars and I'm in McDonald's drive-thru, I'll pay for the person behind me. I've had it happen to me, and it's just a blessing, but it's more of the statement and more of the, hey, I don't know who you are, but I'm willing to spend my money if it makes your day better.
Yeah, and it also says a moment of, you know what, I have no clue who you are, I don't know you, but I want to make you happy. Your happiness is more important than my profit.
Yeah, exactly. And, another example, because you can do pay it forward to your friends and family too.
Yeah.
My wife, Michaela, she has a friend for a while, and it was her mom's birthday the other night, last Saturday night. And she invited us out to, it was a kind of like a restaurant / bar type thing. And so we went. Well, she invited a ton of people, and we were the only ones that showed up. And later, another couple showed up. And her mom just got laid off of her job about a week ago. Around the same time, Michaela did as well. And so, by no means am I rich. By no means do I have the money to go buy a new pair of Jordans whenever I want, or anything like that. You know what I mean? But
just to build a Nike.
And so, we went there, and her friend's mom was having a few drinks and this and that, and they called for last call, which now is at 9 o'clock, because of curfew.
Yep.
And so we were there till 9 o'clock, and I told Michaela I was going to do this beforehand. I did not know how much it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting, because I think they each got an appetizer, her friend and her friend's mom. We got 2 appetizers, and then I had a soda, Michaela had a soda, her friend had a soda, but her mom had a few drinks. So I'm sitting there thinking maybe, $40, $50. I was like, we got that right now. We can swing it. It's her birthday. I was like, plus she just lost her job. So I went up and I went to pay. It was a good chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely over $20 more than what I thought it was going to be. And, I still paid for it and everything. And it she seemed upset at first, only because she knew the situation we were in and all that. But at the end of it, she sat there and she was like, I'm blessed. She was like, thank you guys. She was like, you guys are having a little tight spot with money, but you still, even after what you've been through this week, you still are willing to pay for my meal, pay for my drinks, and make sure I have a good day.
Yep.
And that's all what, you know, the pay it forward movement's about, but it's also about not having lust.
Yeah.
You know, like, I could have easily looked at it and see how much it was and like, oh no, I like my money too much.
Yep.
Where there's situations where I've heard of similar stories where this one guy went to one of the New York restaurants, one of the prestige ones.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that only the like top 1% or something like that can get in.
Yeah.
And he actually went in. I can't remember which actor it was, but he walked in and he just said, "Hey, everyone that's in this restaurant right now, here's my credit card. I don't care how much it is. Pay it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's another thing, I've heard stories of Paul Walker. You know who that is?
Yep.
He went in, he was at a jewelry shop one time. This was after they recorded the second Fast and Furious movie. And he went in and there's this young couple looking at these engagement rings. And the husband actually walked away to answer a phone call for a second. And so, or the fiance, and he went over to the female and was like, "You guys looking at engagement rings?" And at this point, he was a nobody.
Yeah.
But he made his money from the films, but they hadn't got big yet. And so she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, he overheard the jeweler talking to her, saying, "What about this one?" She's like, "Oh my God, this is my dream ring. But I can't afford it."
Yeah.
So they walked out. They left their number and everything, so they could call her about anything cheaper that came in. Paul Walker went up to the guy and said, "Hey, I want to buy that ring. Give it to them." He's like, "Call this number. Don't tell them I did it. Don't, whatever. Just, here you go." He bought that ring. He bought the husband's ring. And, there's certain things, if you're that type of person, because that's genuine, true, non-money loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he had all the money he needed. And because that was like I don't know the exact price because I remember reading this a little while back. I think it was like a $17,000 ring.
Yeah. And you know what? There's so much with money that you can lust. And yeah, granted, you need money to live. You need money to survive. But bottom line, when you have enough to live your entire lifetime without working, you have plenty enough that you can help others out with.
Yeah.
There is so much good you could do by helping people with the excess money, if you have excess. Or if you don't, I can tell you stories about people, my sister Dawn, one of them, who never had a dime to her name. She worked her tail off, full-time job, minimum wage, or barely above minimum wage for many, many years. And I've literally watched her, like there'd be somebody on the side of the road that's homeless, and she would actually take them out to dinner and pay for their meal so they can have at least a meal. I've watched her go to a grocery store, go shopping and bring it to random people who didn't have food in the house. This is money she did not have to begin with to give, but she would. And I remember a couple times her lights getting shut off. And I'm like, I go to her and I'm like, "Dawn, your lights are off." She goes, "Yeah, I know. I kind of did this for somebody, and I was even thinking about my light bill coming up, so okay, I did that. I couldn't afford to pay my light bill." That's how Dawn was. She would put something. she put everybody else's well-being above her own. And there's many times when her phone or her lights got shut off because she couldn't pay for it because she used her money to pay for somebody else. There's a few people like that. That is far from money lust.
Yeah.
I also know other people who have plenty of money for, I noticed one people right in particular in my mind, they have more than enough, they're plenty of money. And I'm talking more than enough. And I watched a situation when I had my own garage, and they came in, and it was the guy's sister. Her car was in my shop, and it needed a lot of work. Now, his sister was one of those people. She was a waitress, single mom, trying to make it, raising her kids, and she actually had a breakdown in my showroom about, because your car needed a lot of work. It was a big dollar job. And he, mind you, I was a small business owner. I didn't have money. I was not loaded. I was far from rich. And her brother, who has more than enough, plenty of money, actually had the nerve in my shop to freak out on me, saying that I should give her a payment plan or I should help her out and do it cheaper. When in turn, he could have easily paid for the repair himself to help his sister out.
Yeah.
But he would not do it at all. And she actually looked at him and she asked him, she goes, "You won't lend me the money, let me?" And he said, "No, you need to work for your own money."
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is my money, and I will spend my money on what I want to do."
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just, lust is everywhere.
An evil word.
It's an evil word. Lust is everywhere in every situation. But what we're really trying to get across with this episode is, one, there's different forms of lust. And two, you don't have to, you know, like, I know a few people who are penny pinchers. But reasonably so. Because they don't have the money to go.
And
like, I know a lot of people who only buy generic food because that extra dollar for Captain Crunch versus Colossal Crunch goes a long way.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that to not have money lust you have to go and buy people this and that. That's not what we're saying at all.
And we get it. I mean, there is some people, like, you never should ever put yourself out to help others.
Yeah.
We're not saying that to, have your lights shut off at your house so you can keep the lights on at somebody else's house. We're not asking you to live in medieval time to help others. But in turn, when you have money lust, we need to learn as people to notice the symptoms. Whether it's money lust, whether it's food lust, whether it's sexual lust.
Yeah.
There's a difference. You should be able to, us as people, we need to learn how to see it in the happening so we can stop it before it gets out of control.
Yeah.
And like a perfect example, like, think about this. You go to a bar or whatever, and you're a guy, and you see an attractive girl, like, getting drunk off her butt because she just had a bad breakup with her boyfriend, all this. Problem with society, most guys, they're going to see, easy target. I'm going to get that tonight.
Yep.
Where an honorable biblical man is going to be the one who's going to go to her and say, "Hey, honey, let me take you home." And the song actually says it. The best, take a drunk girl home.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I can't remember who sings it.
Basically, you be a better person, better spiritual person, more respected by God if you took that girl, got her home, got her into her house, left the keys there, locked the door, and left.
Yeah. Well,
and you'd be more respectable to that female.
Right. I think I was just gonna mention that song too, because that's what it immediately made me think of. I want to say it's sang by Lee Brice.
I think you're right.
But
I know it's called "Take a Drunk Girl Home."
yeah, that was one of my favorite songs for the longest time. And you know, the whole thing about it is, you see, I love how the song is just set up.
Yeah.
Cause like when you first hear the song, it's kind of like a slow, you know, kind of in your feelings type thing. So you're like, okay, what's kind of going on here? And then it gets in and it's talking about how you decide you're gonna take a drunk girl home, and so it's take a drunk girl home, lay the keys on the counter, right?
Tuck her in bed.
Yeah, leave your number by the phone, shut off all the lights, lock the door, blah, blah, blah. And so, because if you truly do want to be with this woman or whatever,
best thing to do is
leave your number by the phone. Just be like, hey, I'm the one that took you home.
They're going to thank you later on.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're under the influence of alcohol, so they don't.
Right. And so, he sings the chorus, and then the second verse is actually basically you go home to your lonely house, you can hear your neighbor's smoker cough, you know, at midnight, and you're just sitting there watching TV, and, you know, you're not having a great night, like, you know, you metaphorically would have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just, that's, I think, the biggest example of anti-lust.
Yeah.
Out there, and then...
And that's a big example of a godly, biblical spirit.
Yeah. It's basically saying you're out at a bar, you see this girl, and she's loaded, and all these guys are looking at her like, oh yeah, I'm going to get some of that tonight, blah, blah, blah. And you end up taking her to her house, making sure she gets in bed safe, you know.
Yeah.
Leaving her keys and everything right there on the counter. You walk out, make sure you shut all her lights off, and blah, blah, blah. Then you get home, and you're back to where you were in the beginning, having just another one of those lonely nights. And then in the morning, she actually calls him back, and is like, hey, thank you.
Well, here's the thing is, a lot of things, like I'm talking with people, they'll get the lust and they'll do whatever and they'll cheat or whatever. Believe it or not, most people who have cheated on somebody, or if they had a passionate night out of lust, regret it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't what it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what the mind imagined it was going to be.
Yeah.
So they wind up having regrets over it. With that being said, like the Bible verse says, you tainted your temple.
Yeah.
You took your temple, which is your body, which is God's temple, and you made it dirty.
Well, you know,
all over a quick action decision.
So Michaela's been watching Grey's Anatomy, and so I've seen a few episodes. There's one point, a big story arc is there's this girl who the whole thing's based off of. She works in the hospital. Her name is Meredith Grey. She falls in love with the hot doctor in the surgeon place.
Yep.
And who is actually married to another surgeon. Her name's Addison, who cheated on him with his best friend, who also works at that hospital and is a plastic surgeon. And but they all used to live in New York together. Then they cheated, and Dr. McDreamy is what they call him. He leaves New York, goes to Seattle, and then one by one they follow him. Well, she falls in love with him while he's there, and they end up cheating. And this whole thing happens. Well, Addison's talking to another doctor later on who cheated, and she said, I just feel so bad that I cheated on my boyfriend. You cheated on your husband multiple times. Does it get any better? And she said, well, the first time, you feel like you've made the worst mistake of your life. and you just want to run over and tell them and say, hey, I'm sorry, blah, 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 but you're scared they're going to leave you, so you don't tell them. And then next thing you know, it happens again and again and again, and after a while, you just stop feeling guilty. And I'm sorry, she wasn't talking to a doctor, she was talking to a patient. And so what I'm basically trying to say is, as you do more lust, as you sin more, you just kind of get...
You go down the bad path.
You get numb to it.
You go down the wrong path.
Yeah, and you just get numb to it. And the way I like to think about it is, let's say you have an orange. You take your orange and you throw it against the wall. And you pick it up, throw it against the wall again. Pick it up, throw it against the wall again. At some point, there's going to be no more soft spot, or no more hard parts to hit. And the skin may look good. It may look like there's nothing wrong with it. But the second you touch it, it's all squishy. The second you peel it open, there's nothing but...
mush.
Yeah, mush. Something you can't use. And that's how God kind of looks at us, is we're a bunch of oranges sitting on his counter, and we just keep jumping off the counter. And he's like, okay, I'll give you a second chance. Go back up. And then you fall back again. And that's, you know, you can call it sin, you can call it our fall from grace, you can call it whatever you want. But it just keeps happening. And when your time comes and God decides, all right, I'm going to eat this orange, he opens it up. There's nothing he can do with it.
Yep.
Except throw it away.
Yep, that's a very good analogy.
And that doesn't just go for lust. That just happened to be the episode we're in, and the example I had to go with it. That goes with, you know, stealing. That goes into adultery. I mean, I guess they're all forms of lust. In
some sense, yeah.
Yeah.
But you got your stuff, you got lying, you got so much. And the problem is a lot of times what lust leads to other deadly sins.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things, times with lust, where lust gets real bad and heavy, you're already in a committed relationship with somebody. So now you turn into lying to them.
Yeah.
Now you're lying. So now you got two deadly sins out on you.
Yeah.
You're lying, and then you're having this lust, and then you actually act on it. Now you're on adultery. So now you're into three deadly sins, and then...
You ever see the cartoon of the boy who makes a snowman that turns into an avalanche?
Yeah.
You never seen it? It's a common... Well, it's not like one specific cartoon, but it's a common cartoon trope where there's like a little boy up on top of a mountain or something like that, and he's building a snowman. And then he builds a snowman too heavy, and the snow starts rolling down the mountain.
Oh, I think I have, yeah.
It's picking up speed, it's picking up weight, and then all of a sudden, you know, it turns into this huge thing that rolls over a village or something like that.
Yeah. I have seen that. But when it comes to lust, biggest thing is in life that we have to do as humans, and we're all guilty of it. You gotta first of all, notice it.
Yeah.
Notice it to yourself, and if you notice it to others, mention it. You know, just so they can kind of see. Because, like I said, I'm a flirt, and I don't realize it. I feel I'm just being nice. People mention it to me. Hey, you know, you're really flirting there. I'm like, really? And before I used to say, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Until that one time, like I said, that girl started following me.
It. Yep.
She started showing up wherever I showing up, and then next thing I know, she goes, well, we're going to go out on a date. And I'm like, huh? What? Who? What? Wait a minute. And then I clicked in my head of, okay, maybe I am
Maybe they were right.
Maybe I am a flirt. Where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
But there's different stuff that we can do
to avoid it.
And that will keep our body as a temple.
Yeah.
There is just, it's never an easy thing. Life is not easy, and God knows life is not easy.
Yeah.
And that's why he sent his only son down here to die on a cross and take our sins and was resurrected 3 days later defeat death and take our sins.
Yeah.
So we can all recover from our sins, but what we need to do is learn from them, and we need to recover from them. We need to repent them, and we need to change our actions so it don't happen again.
Yeah.
You can't keep sinning and then keep asking for forgiveness, because it's like the boy who cried wolf. He's only going to listen to you so many times.
Yeah.
And if you cry for forgiveness, hey God, I'm sorry, I kind of banged that girl last night, and then I won't do it again, and all of a sudden a week later, oh God, you know what, I'm sorry, I did this other girl last night, and yeah, it's not going to work if you keep asking.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to be like, yeah, whatever. Kind of like me with some people that keep breaking up, and I keep telling me you're going to be back together. You know, no, we're not.
Yeah, whatever you say, buddy.
They're going to get back together. So, and they tell me, oh, I'm done this time. No, you're not. No, ain't going to happen.
With situations like that, I just learn to sit there, if you say so.
So, lust is a very controlling emotion.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to know, lust is an emotion of the people and of the earth. It's not an emotion of God. God did not instill lust into us. We've instilled it into us.
Yeah.
With the devil. So it's something that we need to identify and stop and get it going on the right path before we damage our temple.
Yeah.
And when it comes to lust, you just hurt so many different people that you just don't even realize.
Yeah.
Not just your temple, but other people. And other people are God's creatures, God's children. So it's just a chain snowball reaction going on.
Yeah.
Lust of money is just as bad. Lust of food is just as bad. Lust of drugs. We can go on and on and on. There's lust of just about anything you can do, because lust is basically an overabundance things of hotly desires, or earthly desires.
Yeah.
Which us as humans, we're kind of dirty, nasty creatures to begin with. I got one more verse. Once I find it.
Well, while you try to find that verse, for my comment section, I think what I want to have for a comment section is, and this is a question for everybody, nobody's exempt from this question at all. I don't care who you are or how holy you think you are, you have a lust.
Everybody has lust.
Maybe it's not controlling your life. Maybe it is. Maybe you don't even realize it, but everybody has something they lust for. And I want to know what your guys' is. That's going to be my comment section. What do you think you could work on not lusting about?
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to bet a majority of them are going to be money.
Yep.
Because that's a very common one. You know, I honestly, my lust, the thing that I kind of fight for and get everyone kind of go crazy about, like over money, and I'm very stingy about it, is making other people happy.
Yep.
My biggest thing is, now, by no means am I a people pleaser. I will not, change a whole thing just to make one person happy or anything like that. But if there's a way I can make someone laugh, if there's a way I can make someone smile or their day better, I will 100% do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like, there's been a few times where dad's had a bad day or whatever, and all of a sudden I show up with some Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Yep.
Or, something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I gotta honestly say my lust is making the people around me have a better day.
That's not a bad lust.
Or it can be for your bank account.
Yeah, but
I know that one firsthand.
It's not a deadly sin.
Right.
Lust. Because you're actually doing what God likes and helping others. And that's loving our brothers and sisters. We're going to do Galatians 5:19-21. Now the deeds of the flesh are evident, which are immorality, impurities, sensualities, idolatries, sorceries, enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissensions, passions, envy, drunkenness. That's the other one we didn't even cover a lot, is lust of
drinking,
substances.
Yeah.
Cruisings and things like these, of which I forewarn you, just as I have forewarned you, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God.
That's a good one, but it had a lot of big words in it.
Yeah, and I'm not good with big words. We know that, especially at what is it, midnight?
Yeah.
So, my little comment section kind of a question about lust, sexual lust. Want to know, because this is always a question that I see going around. Could you take, say, a person that you're very attracted to, physically, having a hard time in their life or whatever, and they just need a shoulder to talk to and cry on. Could you take somebody that you, I'm saying somebody that you really finally find attractive, spend a complete night with them, like just talking with them, maybe even just laying with them in bed, talking about life and comforting them all night long without trying to get physical with them? Could you handle that?
That's a good one.
Because in it's natural humans, when we're down, depressed, hurt, and whatever, we're not in our right mind. So people who lust you will tend to take advantage of that situation, knowing that you're not in your right mind, and they'll act like they care, they'll act like they're going to listen to you and this, that, and the other, because they know they can get you alone, and then they're going to make their little advances and hope you're going to be enough out of your right mind to go along with it, and they're going to get what they want.
Yeah.
Can you actually do that? Can you actually spend the night with somebody you lost, comforting them without physically trying to create nothing?
That's a good one.
I want to know how many people can actually do that. I know a lot of people who claim that they can do that, but I'm willing to bet you if they're put in a situation they can't.
Yeah.
With that said, have a great week.
You gotta